Hey, it's Devora with Soul Life with Devora from the Wise Woman Path. How are you today? I am jumping on today to talk to you about the anxiety that emerges in the space between what you expect and what actually happens in reality. And there can be at times a small space where you're a little bit disappointed, and there can be a big space in there where you may find yourself betrayed or incredibly overwhelmed with being disappointed. And that space can create so much anxiety. Why? Because we are so out of control. I don't know about you, but for me, my feeling is that my intentions and my desires are so strong that I sometimes get magical thinking that I can actually manifest exactly what I am wanting. And it doesn't always happen that way. We know this. We have been on this life journey and on the spiritual path. We are looking for ways to find meaning and divine connection, even when we are not in our best place. And for those of us who struggle, and I struggle myself, which is why I was so drawn to develop a business to help other people with their struggles, the resources that are available to us can help us in those times. So I want to start with the Buddhist teaching that suffering happens in the space between what reality is and what our expectations are. That space that I was describing is where suffering lives. And it is part of the human journey. Are you hearing me? If you are struggling with something that is not going as you imagined or as you had liked, and being that we are in the holiday time right now, there could be a plenty of this. Being that you are at a time when you are realizing that the calendar year is coming to an end, and you have not found that relationship you're looking for, or you have not manifested the finances or the health that you had wanted, that you have not started on that hobby, that there's something that this year has brought to a close, and you had expectations that you were going to do that. You are now left with all that feeling. What I want to start with is, what are you feeling in your body? As someone who is a body-centered therapist and coach, as someone who is very tuned in to what is happening in here, I can tell you that the body is the place to begin. We do bottom-up processing, which means that we notice how we feel in our body, we check in on the emotions, and then our mind. And the mind is where the anxiety starts, where you start awfulizing and projecting. But if you start at the body, if you start in the soma, the somatic in the body, then you have an opportunity to move. So I want to share with you an experience that I have recently had of disappointment and the anxiety, and how I used what was going on in my body to help me get through that. So I have had a very dear friend years ago who our relationship parted, and I did not know the reason why. I tried to approach this person and inquire why, and the disappointment between what I expected, that our friendship would continue. It was a very close friendship for many years, and the reality that that did not happen left me in a place of lack of closure and despair. And there was a tremendous heaviness in my body, and particularly in my heart. And what was absolutely necessary was to move my body. And for me, the movement is either in boot camp gym or in yoga or in cycling or in swimming. I've got a whole different variety of ways that I move my body. And I know that when I have that heaviness in that place between disappointment between reality and expectation, I know that I need to move my body. And for me, it is opening up the heart center. That is all being held right here. And I'm wondering for you, if you're in a place where you are struggling right now, if you are watching live, let me know where you're struggling and where do you feel that in your body. Just right now, when you focus in, where are you feeling that in your body? For many people, it's the neck, in the shoulders, in the heart center or chest, in the belly or gut, or in the lower back. Those are the most usual places. And what needs to move for you to physically move so that you both create more space and that you honor that something is happening there, and that gives you the ability to unleash where you're locked so that you then can take some steps. And that story for me with the friend over many, many years, I finally found something reminded me again of this disconnect, and I felt again that heaviness in my heart center, in my chest, and I opened up and decided from that opening that I would, even after almost 5 years create an outreach. And I sent an email to this friend and talk about the disappointment before between what I expected, which was continued friendship, and what happened, which was disconnect. At this point, I sent an email out where my expectation was that I was not going to get a response or not going to get a good response. And because I had this opening and this release, I actually got a good and welcome response. And there's some reconnection that's happening now. So for you, I really encourage you to notice where you're feeling that in your body and to move your body where you're needing it. And if you're struggling, don't struggle alone. I have needed so much help with my disappointment, so much help with my own anxiety and the ways that I have my repeated patterns. And I am so dedicated here in the Wise Woman Path, in the therapy and the coaching that I do to help anybody who needs it, particularly where you're holding it in your body and you're talking about it, you're trying everything you're doing isn't helping. There are so many different approaches with body, with breath, with yoga, with unconscious work, with hypnotherapy that can access those places and help you either release and take different action or create enough space to have acceptance where nothing is going to change. So acknowledge to yourself that this will be at times the cycle that you will be in your life. It is part of the journey and there are things that can help. So I invite you to send me a message, just private message me or schedule a strategy session to talk about where you feel stuck and what might actually help you close that gap or find that place of acceptance, that you do not have to stay in that place where anxiety is just gripping inside of your heart and inside of your body and you feel like there's no options. There is always an option and there is always hope. So this is Devora on Soul Life with Devora, wishing you peace on this day and that you find ways to cope with the anxiety in those spaces inside of you and that you are absolutely certain that there is always hope and that you do not have to journey alone. Happy Hanukkah for those of you who are celebrating Hanukkah, and Merry Holidays and Happy Christmas for those of you who are preparing for your holiday. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.